Hello, afternoon. How are you all doing? Look where I am. I've made it back to my studio. I'm in my very happy place, and look, even Stitch has come too. I'm in a very, very happy place today. How are you all? How are you all doing? Hello, Helen. Nice to see you. I'm so excited about being back in my studio. Only for today, because I was coming by to pick up some equipment, some different things. So I thought I would do my little thing here, my Facebook tutorial. How are you all doing? Let me get this computer going as well so I can see all your comments. She says, the internet's a little slower here than at home. I'm so excited to be in my studio. Yeah, as I say, I was coming to collect some bits and pieces anyway. Very, very excited. Hello Tabitha and Jocelyn. Hello Olivia. Hello Cheryl. I am very happy, very, very happy. Hi Michelle, how you doing? Hi Severin. Hi Sue. Dad's there too. Yes, very, very pleased to be back in my studio today. Although it does feel incredibly empty. It does feel very, very empty and a little bit cold. But apart from that, it's nice to be back. It's nice to be back. It's the curvy ceiling that gave it away. Oh yeah, our infinity wall. Yeah, definitely. So very excited to be here. So we are going to today to paint a sunflower, because it's dark and grey and wet outside. So we're going to paint something that's going to bring a little bit of sunshine back. Now, I want to show you guys, this is a brush that I'm using today. So this is the smaller one, and I'm going to use a slightly bigger one as well. But can you see the shape of it? So it kind of goes fat at the bottom, and then it goes to a point at the top. So if you've got one of these brushes, use one of these today. Hello Joe, it's nice to be here. Right, so I'm going to try and lower you guys down so you can see what I'm doing, hopefully. Because I want to practice something with the brush. So, can you see that mark there? That's what we're going to do with the brush. So I'm just going to get a little bit of paint on here. And to get that mark, because we're going to use that for the sunflowers today. So to get that mark, you're going to go very, very lightly on the very tip of the brush, the very, very tip. And then push down to get that nice fat bit, and then lift up again to get really, really thin point of the brush again. Okay, so I'll do it this way, hopefully you can see a bit more. So I'm going to go very, very thin and then push down as I come across and then lift the brush up. Okay, so very, very thin, push down to get a nice thick bit, and then lift up to get a point. Hopefully you can all see that and you've had a go. Emma, hello, don't worry about being late. It's fine, you can catch up. I'm in my studio. I'm in my happy place. So just have a play with that, just to see if you can get a couple of different shapes going with that brush. So we're just looking at those kind of shapes that we can make. So hopefully you can all see that and you can all have a go at that. So, for those of you just joining, I'm in my studio, Stitch is with me. Very, very happy to be in my studio. So, those kind of shapes that you can make with that brush is purely because of the shape of it. So, because you've got that nice point on the top and the nice big fat bit at the bottom. And we're going to use some of those shapes to make the petals of the sunflower. Okay, so I'm going to turn my page over and I'm going to drop you guys back down again so that you can see what I'm doing. So, we're going to do a nice big fat bit in the middle for the sunflowers where all the seeds are, because they're normally this nice big round bit in the middle. And we're going to do this quite impressionist, so I'm going to, very, very similar to how we did it yesterday with the feathers, where we did it quite wet and then dropped other pigments into it. We're going to do that, because when you look at those seeds, they're very, they're actually lots of different colours, when you look at them. So we want to get as much colour into this as possible. So I'm going to drop you guys down again. Hi Mum, hi Diane, nice to see you. So I'm going to drop you guys down so that you can see what I'm doing. Hopefully you guys can see. So I'm going to get my bigger brush this time, and I'm going to just start off with a very watery round bit in the middle, and I'm just picking a nice burnt umber there, and I'm just going to keep it fairly wet, drop a bit more pigment into it, fairly wet, because we're going to drop other pigments in as we did yesterday with the feathers. Okay, there we go. So hopefully you guys have got maybe a slightly darker brown. So if you get some of that slightly darker brown, you can drop some of that in as well. And you can see that it just blends really, really nicely. Where it's still wet, you get some of that colour in. We're going to go over this once it's dry a little bit as well, and perhaps dot in a couple of extra bits of detail. So I'm just randomly, I'm not following any particular pattern, just randomly dropping this pigment, this colour in there. I'm actually going to go for a little bit of orange. I can get enough pigment onto my brush there, and I'm going to drop some of that in as well, because again, you get lots of different colours in that. That base colour, that burnt sienna colour that I used, I'm also going to add just a little bit more pigment because I did that quite watery, so I'm going to add a little bit more of that pigment in as well. Diane, you brought Toby, excellent. Hi Toby, join on in. So you can see that it's just a very, very, very colourful, nice circle that's in there. Okay, now with sunflower petals, when you look at the petal, I'm going to lift you up while that dries a little bit. So when you look at the petal, the bit that's closest to the seeds is darker than the outer edges or the tips of the petals. And they're all completely irregular shapes, okay? So the bit that's closest to the seeds is darker because there's more shadow there. So we're gonna try each individual petal, leaving a gap in between, so that once they're dry, you can then come back and add more, okay? But we're gonna start with the lighter colour and then dropping in the darker colour closest to where the seeds are, closest to where the seeds. And then hopefully by the time we've done that, that middle bit will be dry or drier, and we can add a few more colours in there and really kind of add the detail into that bit, okay? So I'm going to drop you guys down again so you can see. So using perhaps some of those shapes that we did earlier, I'm going to switch back to the smaller brush, and I'm going to start with just a very, very light colour. So I'm going to go with my yellow here. You can see my palette. I'm just about to see my palette. So I'm going to go with the yellow there, and using that shape that we did earlier, so really thin, thick to thin, thick to thin. There we go. And while it's still wet, I'm going to add a little bit of the darker orange to just drop in there, and then we're just going to let that spread by itself. I'm going to hold that up so that hopefully you can see that a little bit better. So you can see that orange spreading, and a little bit of the brown is coming in as well from the seeds. So you get a real nice mixture of those colours. And then I'm going to rinse my brush. Don't forget to rinse your brush, otherwise you'll start with a nice orange that you don't necessarily want. And I'm going to leave a gap. And again, go thin, thick, thin. And you can see that that darker colour is already coming in there. But I am going to add a little bit of splodge of the orange as well. Okay, and then just keep going around. So similar shapes, try and make them a little bit different if you can. Sometimes they do thin to thick, and then actually it follows it around that way. Yeah, so you can really play with the shapes of these petals. They are not always all the same. As I say, this is a real kind of impressionist version of these as well. Sometimes you get very odd petals that are all twisted up like that. So you can really have a play with the shapes. And again, just drop that darker colour I'm just using a straight orange. If you want to mix up your colours so that you get slightly different tones as well, do. I'm just working straight out of the palette for this one, so I'm not really doing any colour mixing. Okay, and just keep going around, keep almost missing one, leaving gaps in between so that they dry. There we go. The darker bit to there. And just keep going around, keep turning your page. How are you all getting on? Does that all make sense to you guys? Just don't forget to vary your shape. Vary the shape that you're having with your petals. Does that make sense? I know you're busy painting, but do comment, let me know how you're getting on with this one. Especially as I'm in this big studio all on my own. It's a nice yellow actually, I like that yellow. I'm going to add a bit of the orange in there as well. And again, some of them in the orange will go further up, some of them they won't. That's the beauty of these. Every one of them is completely different. There we go. I might actually just a little bit of water into there so that it bleeds into the seed area as well. That gives it quite a nice little bit of difference. Try and dry that off so I can show you the next bit. Oh, that's very wet, that one. Try and do this next bit. There we go. How have we got? Olivia's using the watercolour paint that you squirt out of a tube. Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah, I quite like working with the tube paints as well. I have quite a few of those. I haven't been using them because there were too many to bring home. There were too many. Just add a drop of that burnt sienna in the bottom there as well. Someone's asking where's Stitch. Stitch is behind me. Stitch has come with me. You see him? He's come with me. He's got all dressed up. He's brought his ration book. He's come with me today to the studio. I couldn't leave him behind while I was painting. So how are you all doing with that? Are you all good? Are you all managing to get those petals done? How are you getting on with the brush shapes as well? How's it looking? There we go, swap that on there. So, once some of them have started to kind of dry, so I can show you a couple of them, in between, you then want to add in your petals as well. So this is where you've got to be really careful, but remembering that the watercolour paint will only go as far as the water. So you can't mess it up, okay? So I'm going to lower you back down again so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. So in between these two, because this one's kind of nearly dried there, I'm going to add in the next layer of petal. So I'm just going to add in there. Just come around it so you're almost leaving a little white gap like we did with the feathers. When we left that gap, I'm going to have to turn that round because my hand isn't that steady. There we go. If it's completely dry, you can go quite close up to it. That one on the left isn't quite completely dry. And then again, drop in the darker bits into the bottom. And the ones behind, you actually want to bring that darker bit further up because they are being shaded not only where they're joining your middle bit, your seeds, but they're also being shaded by the leaves and the petals that are on top of them. Let me hold this up so you can see what I mean. I'm sure it's probably going to drip everywhere now. So can you see that I've just made that a little bit darker in there by adding some extra pigment, bringing the orange a little bit further up and adding in some of the burnt sienna in there as well. So when you then come round to do the second layer, you'll add those in between. Okay, my middle bit's just started to dry a little bit in the middle there, so I'm going to add in some extra bits so I can show you what I mean. Slow but a perfectionist. Don't worry, I am very much, as people that have been watching these videos, I'm very much not a perfectionist. But don't worry, I know a lot of other people who are. Just take it slow. You can always re-watch the videos if there are some points that you're not sure of. So can you see that these are just starting to spread in where it's still a little bit damp? I will hold this up in a minute so that you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just dotting in just some darker colours, and I'll do this with a couple of different colours and maybe not even all the way around. Just on the bottom there maybe. Just again, doesn't need to be symmetrical at all. I'm going to go with the orange now as well and just drop that in while it's still just a little bit damp. And you can get a really nice effect with all the different colours coming in here. And again, if you want to mix any of those colours up, I'm just working straight from the palette, but feel free to mix them up as well. I was the burnt umber that I used as well, wasn't it? So again, I'm just going to dot this in lots of different places. And you can keep going, you can keep adding. The secret is knowing when to stop, as with most things. So just every now and again, take yourself back so that you can lean back and really have a look at it. Okay, so I'm going to hold that up to you then, guys, so that you can see. I'm sorry it's a little bit blurry, that's because of the lights that I'm here in the studio, but hopefully you can see what I mean. So I'm going to carry on doing those. So carry on adding your petals all the way around the edge, remembering to leave a gap. Let them dry and then add in the petals in between those. And then slowly you just start building up this really nice picture of the sunflower. The secret is letting it dry in between. Definitely let it dry in between, and adding in those darker bits while it's still wet so that they blend. All right, so hopefully you guys can keep going. I'm definitely going to keep going with this. I'm going to add some more detail in the middle section as well, so you can add some more kind of splodges. Even when it's dry, actually afterwards, you can really add some texture in there. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed that, are enjoying that. Carry on with your sunflowers. Show me what they look like afterwards. Don't forget to post it underneath in the comments. Tomorrow I'll be back again, but probably from home and not from my studio. So I'm going to make the most of the space while I'm here today. Tomorrow you will need exactly the same stuff. So a piece of watercolour paper, watercolour paints, jar of water and your brushes. But you'll also need a piece of kitchen towel or something like kitchen towel. And a hairdryer, because we're going to do lots of layering tomorrow and we're going to want them dry in between while I'm doing the video and working with you guys. So we want them dry as quick as possible, really. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me in the studio. It's been lovely seeing you. Please do share these posts as well, and share your posts, so not only just commenting underneath here with pictures of what you've done. Please share them on your own pages as well. Be proud of your work and be proud of what you've done, and spread the word about Arty Farty Retreat and the different tutorials and different workshops and inspirations that I'm giving you guys here. Enjoy. What have we got? Oh, Olivia, if you run out of watercolour paper, you need to order some more. Get some more in. Definitely doing watercolours for the rest of this week. So I'm going to finish off my sunflower. Enjoy. See you all tomorrow at 2 o'clock.